Joining me this morning is Ronnie Rijema. Ronnie is an NRM youth member. He's a chairperson, Buganda Youth Forum, and also chairperson, Mukono Youth Council. That's within the party. Good morning, Ronnie.
Good morning, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay.
I get shocked nowadays. I look at youth. Either you young people feed well or something. You do not look youthful at all. What is going on?
Why not?
Hmm?
I look very young.
Do you?
Yes.
Well, sometimes I see some of your colleagues and thinking they are models of this world. They could even pass for my father, for example, and they call themselves youth. And I keep wondering, how do you people do this?
You know, the youth bracket is between 18 and 30. So when you look at someone who is clocking 30, it may look a bit big, and then you think maybe that one is beyond 30 years and above. But all in all, we are all youth. We are contesting. And I don't see anything bad within the structures.
All right, let's get to the real crust of the matter. The youth within NRM. You people seem very disorganized. You know, there's many different factions, and, you know, I imagine you are on the mainstream faction, you know, if I'm to call it that.
You know,
well, what is going on? You people are very disorganized.
That's where you get it wrong. We are not very disorganized.
Well, at least that's what we see. We see different factions.
There's a lot of democracy within the party.
Is that democracy? When again these others on the other side will say you're treating us unfairly, you're blocking us out of meetings and so on.
Which side are you talking about here?
I'm talking about youth that call themselves NRM youth.
You know, when there is democracy within the party, every member is allowed to support his candidate or anyone. So when you look at these people who go to support other people, then you term them as disorganized. But we are not disorganized. We are all NRM youth leaders. We are members of the party. And when we go into primaries and then we vote for a candidate, or after the primaries and then we get one candidate in NRM, we are all going to support that candidate. But don't say these are disorganized, these are organized, something like that. That is not the case.
I'll tell you why I think you are disorganized. Because you see, the quibblings have been with the different factions. There's a faction, for example, that will say, these mainstream people, one, they are sidelining us. You know, we are not getting the opportunities we should. When they organize meetings, they block us out. And then we have the youth, the pro-Mbabazi youth, that are saying they've been let down by the party, you know, and so they are going to Amama Mbabazi and saying, look, maybe you could ameliorate us, because you see, the mainstream party has let us down. Then we have the unemployed youth, and they will say, our party has let us down. That is what I'm calling confusion.
There is no confusion at all. I didn't want to talk about the Mr. Mbaba's issue and the president.
Well, I do want you to talk about it.
But sometimes,
at least at the youth level,
you consider a lot these pressure groups, and then you call them certain cliques of young people. But there are some pressure groups, let's say the poor youth, the NRM youth, the Muslim Brotherhood. But I don't consider them as serious groups that can take over power or can even say something within the party. We have very strong structures within the party. We have very strong youth leaders. You cannot find a youth leader who is a genuine youth leader involved in such, like Muslim Brotherhood. So are you going to consider only the Muslim or the poor youth? When you look at the poor youth, it has two factions. There is one that is based in Kamocha for the poor, led by Kirecha Nkuba. Here is the founder of the poor youth. And then there is another one that sits around Serena to plan how they can tackle the president, how they can get the attentions of the president, how to disorganize the whole country. But that is not the case. As NRM youth, we are focused, we have a vision, we have an agenda, and I don't think there is any disorganization within the party.
Really, when I read you know, your face and I see the gesticulations, you talk about these youth, poor youth and so on, unemployed youth. You talk about them disdainfully and contemptuously, and I'm thinking, do you not think they have a point at all? Because you see, sometimes we risk looking at these, they are poor, they are what, and you know, so they are very useless. And I'm thinking, do you not think they have a point at all?
They have points, and that's why I told you that there is an origin of the poor youth, where these guys have a vision, where these guys, they can bring you a point and then you understand. And most of them have been helped in different ways. They have been coming, say there's this and this and this within the poor youth, and we give them attention. But again, there is another faction of the poor youth that is more focused on just disorganizing the country. But or just to seek attention of the president.
And what's
So we
wrong
can-
with that? Because he's the head of state. And by the way, I don't even have
It
to belong to
depends,
the
it
NRM
depends.
to seek attention of my president. He's my president, even if I
It
don't
depends
belong
on
there.
the number of people. How many youth in Uganda? We are more than 70% of the Ugandan population.
We are 78%.
So when you get a clique of 5 to 7 people, you cannot say that we are representing the whole of the region or the whole of the country. So they may have personal agendas. So when you get the attention of the president when you are 7, and then another clique of 7, and then another clique of 10, where will that end? So we cannot, I don't see any value in that. And I don't see why we should be called disorganized because of few factors. We have a forum. It's called the Buganda Youth Forum. It's a forum of all youth leaders in the country. To never be involved in such scenarios. But we have views, and we always take our views to the president on several occasions. So we have brought programs. There is a youth livelihood program that is running within the country. Youth have benefited, inclusive of those so-called poor youth they are talking about. So I don't see any challenge about the so-called Muslim Brotherhood, the so-called funny structures of the youth. But we have strong structures from village level to district level to national level. So there is no disorganization within the youth.
I'll tell you something that I find ignorant, especially about young people. Young people will join the FDC, for example. Why? Because they are angry. And some also because they're thinking, let me join the FDC, make a lot of noise, get myself onto a pedestal. And then
Those
the
are the
NRM,
few.
just hold a minute. And then the NRM will see me make too much noise, and my bar will have been raised, so it will be easy for them to buy me at a very good price. And then I look at some of those that are part of the NRM, and many of them, with all due respect, are there just because that's where the money is. They don't exactly believe necessarily in the principles of the NRM. They don't even know about them, but they are there because there is a catch. Why did you join the NRM, for example?
NRM has a vision.
What's that vision?
When you look at NRM before it captured power, by that time it was called NRM. This country was way back that you can't even compare it with these small countries around because of the dictatorship that was within the system that was there. But today when you look at from 86 up to now, at least you can see changes and you can tell. But the only challenge we have that you media people who are supposed to tell the public that there is change between here and here.
Well, we tell the truth. Why do you want us to contort the
but
stories?
Sometimes you do it the other way around. Where you see something wrong, that one it will fail, and then you inform the public about A, B, C, D. But there are some good things that NRM has done. I'm not a spokesperson for NRM, but I think I can see, because I was born in this generation, I read history, I can tell. Even my son will come and tell that between this and this and this, it was like this. And then from that time, there is a change also. Let's appreciate as we advise on the way forward than lagging our country behind than creating funny stories. We don't need to see what has happened in Burundi or what has happened in Libya to happen in Uganda. We cannot allow, because we are setting off what we have done, what our parents have done. We are just tarnishing each and everything.
As a young person, because you say you were born clearly, of course, as a young person, this is all that you have seen. And if you had to compare and contrast, you read history, and that's very important. If you had to compare and contrast, do you think this country is moving? I mean, I actually find it odd. I find it preposterous for those that say that Uganda has not changed at all. I think it has changed.
Yes.
Question is, at what pace? I like using the example of Singapore. If you were to get Singapore's story and juxtapose it against Uganda's story, these two leaders, Lee Kuan Yew and our very own here, they were in power for about the same time. The other one 30 years and this one nearly 30 years. He moved the Singapore, it used to be a city nation, from third world to first world. Here we have moved from third world to third world. We are still third world. So if I were to ask you, do you think we are moving at the pace at which we should be moving?
It is, by the way, when you compare between 86 and now, the GDP by 86 they used to collect something like 6 billion. But when you look at today, it is more than even 200% increment on the GDP. More than even 200%.
Do you know the current figure?
It should be around 18 trillion, something like that.
24.5 billion US dollars. It's actually a lot more than 18 trillion shillings. But my question still remains of, do you think we are moving? Because there has been a change, absolutely. are we moving at the pace at which we should move? As the young people, when you see, especially when you compare and contrast opportunities here, for example, for young people, 83% of Uganda's young people are unemployed. Even those that are employed, many of them are underemployed. And that's just one of the other examples that you can use. Do you think we are moving at the pace we should be moving at?
When you look at, when you talk about underemployed or what, look at the government. The government has something like 35,000 jobs. That is within the institutions of the government. But we are more than 35 million Ugandan people. So where do you want these people to go if the government is employing 35,000 people?
And we are probably saying government should create more jobs, build industries and not just talk about them, inject productively into the economy. That's how jobs come. It's very simple economics.
But it's also better to create some within. It's not only the government to create jobs.
No, and we are not saying that, but perhaps create an environment. Because you see, on an annual basis, 400,000 young people are ready to hit the job market. Do you know the jobs available on an annual basis? Do you know? You should be doing research. You told me you young people read. 113,000 jobs are available. Do your very quick math. Where do the others go?
Of course, they have to look.
Anyway, let me move to my next question. Ronnie, you have been a part of the leadership within the NRM Youth Council sections for how long now?
For 4 years.
For 4 years. A good 4 years.
2011.
What do you think your achievements have been? And maybe not just as an individual, but as a group.
As a group. We have set up programs, like there is a, I've told you earlier before, there is a youth livelihood program. That's a program that is running the whole country.
That was set up by you people?
Yes, that's a program. Yes, that
was it set up by the National Youth Council or the NRM Youth?
No, the National Youth Council. What is NRM and what is National Youth Council?
This is a government program that came through Ministry of Finance, and they gave it to you people to try and handle it.
We came up with a draft. We submitted to the PS of the Ministry of Gender, that is Mr. Percy Girimana, and then we forwarded to Parliament, to Cabinet, until it was approved by the President. In Kororo, that was something like 2012 or 2012. So you cannot say that it came from Ministry of Finance. No one should trick you that way around.
So how successful has it been?
Yeah,
among the other programs you were telling me about that you have pushed.
And there are very many people who can even come and witness. Almost in every district has been running. People are getting money at. They're not even. Others have even started paying back, and the new members are getting money. No interest, no what. Money is there. Guys are getting it. But you cannot say that everyone would benefit, because this is we are dealing with a number of youth in the country. So you may find that as compared to the amount that is sent at the district, it may not capture 50% of the youth within the district, but it may capture the 20%, which means the 80% will make a lot of noise, that they have not got anything out of it. But again, my appeal to the government to look into that program and then fund it the more, such that every young person can benefit. It has no requirements, no need of getting land titles and everything. So we have given out heifers to youth leaders.
These ones that I normally see them rejecting, they say they are sick, they actually look sick, they look enfeebled.
No.
Ronnie,
I expect that within the young people.
No, but you see, we see the pictures and...
There are people who have benefited. I can tell you a number of people within the central region here.
Some will say that those that are benefiting are those that are tethered to the NRM, you know, and so the other young people,
that's a lie.
They are left out in a way.
We didn't consider the NRM people when we are giving out those heifers. We were giving all youth leaders. We didn't want to bother whether it's FDC or UPC or JUI. We were giving all youth leaders.
Let me just get your take on this. You are a youth and you belong to the ruling party. I did earlier on tell you that 83% of this country's youth are unemployed. What do you think would be the magic bullet? A remedy that would really work? Because you see, unemployment is a Brobdingnazian challenge in this country.
But
it's a gigantic one.
But you cannot fight unemployment up to zero.
Well, at least you can move it from 83%. 83% is a stupendous level. So what do you think would work?
You have in the country.
Well, don't defend whether or not it's good. Let's look at how do we provide a solution.
Such that
I'm interested in listening to some solutions, because at least you seem to concur that unemployment is a big challenge in this country. What do you think would be a solution?
A solution is to create our own jobs. When you get like money, create something small. But these graduates, they move on looking for white-collar jobs. Like me, I started working when I was in my vacation in senior 6. I worked for 3 years, and then I said I will not work for any other person again. I started creating my own jobs, and I'm employing more than 100 youth. So, does it mean that me, I got the money from NRM?
Well, at least you had a startup. You were employed for 3 years.
From where?
Many young people did not have that
But
at
I
all.
started on a salary when I was getting something like 100,000 per month. But I managed to save, and then started up something small for my own. Today I can witness and then show up something.
You earlier on told me you want to run for youth member. We need to wrap this up. You want to run for youth member of parliament, Central Region, come next year.
Yes.
Why do you want to become a member of parliament?
One, there has been
You have 30 seconds to convince me. We need to wrap this up.
There has been a challenge within the youth structures. I think for them, they think that they have been left behind. They have not shared a cake on the national cake. So my intentions is to bring these youth together, sensitize them on what to do. Because when you find like the youth of Chiseka or the youth of Mubende or the youth of Mitian, and you just give them money to do something without sensitizing them, without talking to them, without guiding them on how to do business, at the end of the day, they are going to use that money in buzz and what. My target is just to first empower these young people, empower their structures, have a get-together that maybe at least quarterly you can meet all these guys and then try to advise them, try to show them that even if you're young, that you can do something and then come up with something, but not making noise on the streets. No, not whatever money you get, you go to clubs, you do this and this and this. I need to get their attention first, get their views, and then we see how we can help them out. The government is ready to give them a hand.
All right, Ronnie Rijema from the NRM, thanks a bunch for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
The task is an uphill one, I'm sure you know.
Yes.
I wish you well.
Thank you.
All right, coming up is my opinion. The young people in this country are bedeviled with many a challenge. Of course, the most stupendous one being unemployment. Figures, are through the roof of about 83% of this country's young people are unemployed. We need to find a remedy, and we need to find it yesterday, because you see, we have grappled with this issue for donkey's years. It's nibbling away at our country, it's nibbling away at our economy. Can we begin to do something about it? Next year, the elections will be here, and much of the time we get the young people, and we do not engage them productively. We will use them to do the riots for us, to do the vote stealing for us, to do everything chaotic, just so, the big shots can get through. I look forward to a time when young people will be engaged productively, when young people will actually begin to realize that, look, we have a future that we have got to protect, that we have got to work for. Can we begin to do that now? Young people, you have always been told that you're the leaders of tomorrow. Tomorrow has come. That's the big story for this morning. Thanks a bunch for joining us. Coming up in a bit is Everyday Life.